You know, I will tell you this. You get into the accounting profession, right? Chaos is not your friend. You can talk to any accountant, right? I don't care how messy emotionally they are. I don't care how messy they are, you know, like like with whatever, right? When it comes to accounting, there's a certain order.
Hey guys, welcome to the TOWTalk Podcast. My name is Denise and I am here with my co host Neil. And in this segment, we're going to do an update on the Town of Wallkill finance situation. Neil's got some updated information. So what's going on?
If only, if only it was, if
It's the
only it
same
was
old
that
bullshit.
simple. It's the same old bullshit. So, essentially what I feared is correct. These guys on the board really, need need a real kind of whack. Like a whack in the head,
That
right?
bad.
Like a real wake up call as to how businesses are run and what you need to discuss as management and what the public needs to know, right? You know, we have this saying in the financial world that, you know, if you lie to your investors, right? In an SEC world, you lie to your investors, right? Then you've committed fraud, right? Then what you've done is you've
Makes sense.
misled them, right, into either investing in your stock, right, off of misleading information, in which case then you've committed fraud, financial fraud,
Of course. Yeah.
which the SEC is strongly against, right? I mean, the SEC
At
has
least they used to be. We
prosecuted
don't know what they're up to
companies,
now.
right? But they've prosecuted people in the past for providing false information.
Yes.
Okay, and
In fact,
and
that's the kind of one of the types of law that I worked in was securities law. So
right,
yes, I'm absolutely familiar with what you're saying.
and because the town has debt, the town does issue financial information to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, right? And their public statements can be viewed as investment material, right?
Okay.
Like the idea that you're telling your investors we are a safe investment for your money. That's no different than us being the public, right? I mean, we are the investors. This is our town. We are giving our money to the town, and the officials that we elect have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that our money is secure.
Yes.
Okay? And what we've seen, just give people a quick update in the background. What we've seen is lies, manipulation, you name it, right? Year and a half behind on bank reconciliations, right? That was when
At
I was in
least.
office, right? Right? So like when I was there, right, in 2021, one of the things that we discovered was the town was a year and a half behind on bank reconciliations. The finances were 2 years behind on their financial audits. The information wasn't up to date. We found that the closing balances at the end of 2021 didn't match the opening balances of 2022,
God.
right? Like, I mean, it was really like egregious stuff, right? Like what I would consider to be egregious stuff. Now, these things do happen, but you have to fix them at some point in
Of
time.
course.
Okay.
That's
Now,
kind of
what
your
happens
that's
since
kind of their job, right?
right, right. Now what we saw since then, since I left office, what we saw, right? Now I left office in 2024, 2023 was my last year. So 24 was the first year I was not in office. What we saw is that the town lost their bond rating, all right, and had $405,000 stolen from them. Okay.
Now we
So
know all
the
about
assets
that.
were not secure, right? The assets were not secure, and the financials were a mess, right? The accounting and finances were a mess. So they've now spent $300,000, right? We hear about this $300,000 that they spent just this year alone. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in previous years, or in 2024, as all this was coming about, to try to see if they could right, bury this, hide this, at the same time as maybe try to fix it. But fixing it wasn't the goal. It was more or less hiding it and getting it to the point where it wasn't so in your face. Okay. Well, what we know now is if we go back to a few weeks ago, George had told us, right, who was the town supervisor, George Serrano, had said, "Oh, the bank recs are up to date. We
There
have
they
all
are.
our controls in place. Everything is fine. We're just a little behind on our finances, right? And that
Just a
first he
little.
says that the audits will be done by year end, and then we heard that the audit of 2023 will occur, sometime in the first quarter, right? The story kept changing.
It always changes.
Okay, right. So, basically what we know now is bank reconciliations aren't done. All right. We're still about a year and a half behind on our bank reconciliations, right? The town has no idea what its current cash balances are. Okay.
It's
In any
scary
of
as
its
hell.
accounts. Okay. Right. It is scary. From this standpoint, it absolutely is scary
Let me
because
stop you right there and ask you a question, Neil.
sure,
Um,
as many as you want.
now that these people are basically lame ducks, and we have a new administration coming in with Frank and Don, and we're going to have a majority. Do you think there's any incentive for them to do anything with the books between now and January?
Oh, I don't anticipate much getting done.
Do
Um,
you think that
no,
they would make a
there
bad
wasn't a
situation
plan.
make a bad situation worse?
They can't.
Okay.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty
It's bad
bad at the
enough, right?
moment. It's bad enough at the moment. I mean, the good thing is they did fix some of the control issues that they did have. But one of the major controls that you have are your bank recs.
Okay, yeah,
Okay. And, I mean, that's where your highest risk is in a municipality, is related to money, cash,
yeah.
right? Your cash. Um, and you always want to make sure that's secure. One of the biggest, and we could talk about having all the latest financial tools in place and all this other kind of stuff, right? Like we heard George say, right? The supervisor say, we have the latest technology. Okay, here's the thing. There is no technology. There's absolutely no technology that takes the place of a good old fashioned bank rec.
Right. And regardless of what technology, you can have all the best technology there.
Right.
If you don't use it, you don't apply it, or you don't learn how to use it,
Right.
then it's not doing anything. So
Right.
it's just hype. It's just we got all this great stuff. We ain't doing shit with it, but we got it.
Right.
That's really the
So
truth.
right. So the town uses what's called a clearing account, which is essentially one bank account where, they pay all the bills out of. Okay. If that account isn't reconciled, okay, then all your cash balances aren't reconciled. Right? It's like
Ooh.
one of those type of things. It's not right. It's not bank account per, what you have on your general ledger,
Yes.
right? In order to know if you're paying all your bills out of one account, right, and all the money has to flow through that one account, then you have a problem, right? And then that also takes into account the idea that um you know you just don't know where, you had the way bills were being paid in the past
Hmm.
was this idea that you'd end up paying the bills, but they would use all your general fund money to pay all the bills, and then which would create these sort of loans between funds that would have to be paid back later. Well, we don't know, right? Like you don't know until you do your bank rec whether the money has been moved, whether the journal entry had been done, right? So that's sort of where we are. We don't know what journal entries have been done and what money has been moved, like, because now you have to sort of reconcile this sort of like one clearing account with all these other accounts, right?
Wow.
It becomes really, I've done that a few times. It is one of the hardest things to do. Um, you know, I, from an accounting standpoint, especially when you're accepting credit card settlements that may not settle on the same day as you
Yeah.
getting the money in or your batch, right? Like there are timing differences that make it really, really difficult to do those. And not to get into the granular detail, um, for anybody who's maybe done their own personal bank reconciliation or whatever, right? Like there are things that occur when there are timing differences. And so this becomes really problematic
Yeah.
for the municipality in trying to get these reconciled. But you know, what disturbs me more, right, than them just being behind, what disturbs me more is the rhetoric, right? The idea that they're trying to pump themselves up and portray themselves as good financial managers when they've literally driven the town to this disaster, right? And all of which they've had plenty of notification, right?
Oh,
They've
yeah.
had plenty of people telling them that there was a problem. When I first got in office, O'Connor Davies had said there was a problem with payroll and there was a problem with your water funds, right? And then it just escalated from there. All of a sudden we were having a reporting problem, and next thing you know, we were having control issues. And then we did our risk assessment, and the risk assessment said you had material weaknesses all throughout your books and records, right? All while you had 3 board members saying everything is perfect. We're not doing anything wrong. The comptroller is doing everything right. Everything
We have
is
heard this.
perfect,
So here we
right?
are. So now what is happening now? You know, I mean, is it worse than we thought? Is it the same? Is it that bad or
Um, I'm gonna say they've at least started the process of trying to get it better, but
okay?
they have so far to go. They haven't even scratched the surface on all the things that they need to do. Okay, it's literally just triage at the moment.
Wow,
Okay,
that's not good.
so and it's apparently been this way. The chaos. I will tell you this: you get into the accounting profession, right? Chaos is not your friend. you, you can talk to any accountant, right? I don't care how messy emotionally they are. I don't care how messy they are. Like with whatever, right? When it comes to accounting, there's a certain order. And then that's what you go into the profession for is you want that order, right? You want that there's a certain amount, it makes sense. You're dealing with numbers, you're not dealing with and things are pretty clear cut. And I have to tell you, from the years of me being in there, I was twitching like crazy at how bad it was. Like it was like literally walking into, like I would equate it, if you maybe people could describe it as like you walking into a hoarder's house. It's like you would be like you'd get into the house and you'd be like,
What is
I
happening
need to get out
here?
of here. I need to get
What
out of
is
like I need to get out
what
of
is
here. What's
happening?
happening? Right. Right. And that's sort of the way I felt was, and you know, the problem is that and this is what I think I've talked about on this podcast a lot, right? Is the type of when you elect somebody, right? You're electing a manager, you're electing a fiduciary, okay? And we've seen to have grown as a society to like and vote for chaos, right? Like this chaos
Drama.
theory of management, right? A lot of drama. We don't actually want to do the work. We just want to get in there and create chaos, because then when stuff can't get done, we could then tell you we don't have money, or we can't do this project because look at the chaos, right? It's always about setting up a narrative that the dysfunction and the lack of organization is a government trait versus a management trait.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm here to say it's not a government trait. Government, for the most part, like, you can go to the comptroller's office, you can go to any of the state authorities. It's really built on this idea of order and structure.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay. And as much as we don't like the bureaucracy, what's causing, when you try to get something done in government, what's causing the problem isn't the bureaucracy, isn't the government, it's the management of that government. It's who you elect. It's who, when you elect somebody, it's who they're hiring. It's those aspects that are really problematic, and that's what I try to let people know. Like, this is absolutely a management issue. The chaos was created by them.
yeah.
Like, they've had plenty of opportunities to fix it. They knew what the problem was back in 2017 when I first brought it up.
Yeah. Have they interfaced with Frank and the people coming in?
I have no idea, not that I'm aware of, but I don't know. I'm not really involved, in that aspect of it. So, for the most part, I was asked my opinion, and I was asked to provide some guidance and maybe some things on the accounting aspects of things.
Yeah.
Given that that's my profession. So, that's sort of where it kind of rested with me. All the other kind of stuff is kind of on them.
Wow. Okay. So when Frank comes in, let's just summarize this as saying, he's got a fucking job ahead of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect the audit. I wouldn't expect the 2023 audit to be done probably before next summer, and
Wow,
I
really?
would hope that the 2024 audit and 2025 audits would follow right behind, given some of the information that was shared with me. So that would sort of be my thought.
Okay.
Yeah, I would only say summer, the next summer, because not because of when the actual work will be done
Okay.
per se, right? On timing of your auditors. Okay, to do an audit, you need to contract with an auditor. Okay,
Yeah.
your auditor's busy season is between January and end of April.
Obviously tax season. So you're
Well, there's an audit season too, believe it or not.
Yes, an audit season. Yes.
There's a there's tax accountants, and then there's your audit accountants. And, on the audit side, most everybody is trying to get their finances done. I mean, you got to remember, when it comes to SEC, you got your, you have your 60-day deadlines, right? And then, you have your other deadlines, your 120-day deadlines for municipalities, some of them which are 90 days, depending. Town of Wallkill is 120 days. Yeah, so given I don't see the auditors having the capability, right, or the manpower to put together an audit team to come in to audit the 2023 financials, right,
in time.
in the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah,
I
they're
just
not going
don't
to be
see
able to
that
do that.
happening.
Yeah.
It's too outdated. The information's way too outdated.
I would think that once they got 2023 underneath them, though, it should help 2024 and 2025 to move along a little faster, hopefully.
Yeah. Well,
But you got to get that first one done.
From what I understand, they've finally figured out, right? So remember, I keep bringing up this closing balances of 2021 and opening balances of 2022.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
They
I know
didn't
I
match.
keep bringing that up. They didn't match. And I keep bringing that up because that's a huge, huge issue. Okay. And I can't stress enough how big of an issue that actually is. Okay.
How far are these numbers off? Is it like a couple of bucks, or are we talking hundreds or thousands of
I
dollars?
I haven't seen it. From what I'm understanding is both have now been, like, remember we heard George kind of say that they had to reopen the books for 21, right, to close 21 and to close 22. So it sounds like, from what I'm understanding, that has been done, right?
Okay.
All right. But now you have the other issue where, so now you're starting to get into the years where there was fraud in your books. Okay. Now, as much as they want to keep saying money wasn't stolen, money was stolen. Okay.
We know for sure
There,
somebody was arrested for stealing
right,
$405,000. There's absolute
right,
theft going on with our
right,
tax dollars there.
correct,
Question
right.
is who else might have had access to take money? How much is really
And
missing?
right, and right, and that's exactly, and to your point, that's exactly that defines what the problem is, right? It's they want these board members, right? The three board members, Councilman Coyne, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Valentin, and Supervisor Serrano, right? They want to tell you, well, we got the money back. We were reimbursed by our bank, right? I don't believe that to be true. I have not seen any substantial information that shows me that that statement is true. But irrespective of whether that is
Oh,
true or not, right? Because it doesn't matter, the money was still stolen.
yeah.
Okay. And when you have money that's been stolen out of your books, as an accountant, one of the first questions you have to ask is there anything else missing? Right? Because it
It's a
shows a
logical
gap in
question.
your, right. It shows a gap in your controls.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you have a gap in your controls that allows money to be stolen, then you have to ask yourself, is there other monies that are missing that should be there?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming that that's one of the reasons why, and I don't know for a fact, but possibly, that their auditors gave a qualified opinion and wouldn't give an unqualified opinion. For those that don't know the difference between qualified and unqualified, unqualified opinion means that you're basically getting a clean bill of health. There's no material misstatements on your financials. Qualified opinion means, well, there were problems,
Oh,
and we can't
doesn't sound like
necessarily
it
be 100.
means that
Right,
way.
right. We can't entirely be sure that your financial statements aren't misstated, right? So what they say is, except for these items which we list, which could cause a misstatement, all right, we're this is sort of good to go, right? So the town got a qualified opinion for 2022. I pretty much assume that they'll get a qualified opinion 2023, 2024, and probably 2025 at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't see that not happening. Um, could be wrong. I don't know, but they clearly have gaps in their controls. The assets, as I had mentioned when I ran for office, were clearly not secure.
Yes.
Um, I understand that that wasn't an issue for the public. The public didn't really care about that,
Oh, public
for
really
one reason or
wasn't,
another.
public really wasn't getting informed. What they don't know, they're not going to worry about. That's what we're here to
I was
do. We're
telling them,
here to let you
no,
know.
I was telling them the public didn't want to listen to me. They would just as soon listen to four guys who were willing to lie to them.
Yes. Yep.
That's really what it came down to. And, for whatever reason, two of those guys were reelected to the board to continue their lies, right? I mean, to me, they have no credibility at all. They went to the public, they told one lie after another, they continue to tell those
Yeah.
lies, and and until we as the public stop looking at R&D and that nonsense and start looking at, is this person going to take care of my money,
Yeah.
right, in an effective manner? This is the garbage we're going to get.
Yeah.
Garbage in, garbage out.
What a shame, huh? So,
Yeah.
so we, I guess Frank and his team and the incoming team have their hands full. Interesting question here. Is he going to be working with the existing comptroller or will he bring his own people in, do you think?
I have no idea.
That's something we should talk to Frank about how he plans to approach this because again, this is going to be a shorter term because we've moved from odd years
It's
to
only 1 year.
so it's 1 year,
Yeah, it's only 1 year. Yeah.
and we really want to. And I understand people want to see at least some result, at least breaking through and demonstrating that there are problems there, but problems that can be fixed, that can be addressed, can be corrected, and get us back moving in a positive direction. So that should be the goal, hopefully, with Frank and Steve and Don, and even with
I will say this more so than the accountants, which are handicapped, right? The employees, which are
yeah,
slightly handicapped, right, by a poor management team. I'm not saying they're handicapped. I'm saying they're handicapped
no,
by their
there's
poor managers, right? By the poor management team that's there. Um, I would be the first one to advocate and say that their professionals need to go.
yeah,
Right. I
yeah. So
mean,
you got to shake up the office
the
a bit.
the auditors and lawyers need to go. I can't even stress that enough. I mean, the fact is, the accountants should have been more stern with their warnings, right? They wanted to keep the job, so they came in and they didn't. I'm gonna flat out say they didn't really do a lot of what they were supposed to do.
Right.
Okay, they really fell short on a lot of how they presented things and stuff like that. The best thing that they did for the town was the risk assessment, but even the risk assessment I thought was watered down, right? Like they didn't go far enough. Those were absolutely in my mind material weaknesses. Okay. And which was proven by the fact that $400,000 just got stolen from right out from under them. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and lawyers have a fiduciary responsibility,
Yeah.
you know?
So
I mean, they have to advise, and they got really bad advice.
wow. So here we are. But we're at the end of November. So when does Frank and the new
January
January, is it January 2nd?
2nd.
It's January 2nd. Okay.
Yeah.
January 2nd, we have a new administration in the town, and we're going to be shooting for getting to the bottom of the finances, at least get the 2023 audits done and begin to really dig around and find out what if and how much money is missing beyond that 405,000 that we know for sure was stolen. So here we are. So we will keep you updated um, as we get more information, as we learn more information, and we'll go from there. All right. So stay tuned. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you've got any questions or comments, please make sure you post them below. We love to hear from you, and it goes a long way to helping us to keep giving you more information. All right. Thanks so much. We will see you in the next segment. Take care.
Peace out.
See you.